Hi, it's Dereka with Dereka's Designs, and today we're making this adorable gnome attachment. This can be used for any season with any type of print. This is a no-sew attachment, so grab your glue guns and let's get started. Guys, we are back, and this is our cute little gnome that we're gonna do. Now remember, also we talked about this before, but you can literally make this gnome for every single season. Don't think that it is just for Halloween and for candy corn and all that. All you have to do is change out the fabric up here, change what the little guy is holding, and literally any season, anything really. So it doesn't require a whole lot of parts for this. This is a very quick and easy gnome that you can make. You only need these 4 pieces in foam board, and the fabric's, very limited. Like I said, quick, easy, inexpensive project to make. So we will set him over there, kind of out of the way. And let's see, however you cut your fabric, that's how you need to make your little curly Q face. So if you're specific and you very much want the curly Q to the left, make sure you cut your fabric. Okay, so the only extra little tools that I did pull out a couple of clamps because when you glue the hat onto the base, it's nice to clamp them. And then of course, I'm gonna cut my fur using an X-Acto knife, so I will show you how that works. But everything else is pretty self-explanatory. On this particular one, I like to use quilt batting. It is really hard to stuff this little curl. You can do it with polyfill if you want to. Just remember to do it a little bit at a time and just glue a little bit and then stuff a little, then glue a little, then stuff a little, glue it. It just takes a while. So if you have the option of using quilt batting, highly, highly, highly recommend it, just because it's so much easier. So we know this is going to be the front of ours because of the way that we cut our fabric. Oops, it's upside down. So this is the side I want to glue the quilt batting onto. We're just going to go ahead and do that now and get it where it's cooled off. So I'm going to lay out my quilt batting. You don't need a lot of glue. I'm just kind of doing a squiggly line. All we want is it to stay on there. So you don't have to put a lot. And then we're gonna cut it out of there, and then we'll cut it neater in just a second. We'll do the same thing with our little body piece. Now I didn't put quilt batting in the feet. You can if you want to. You can see they're just little pieces of foam board with black felt over it. So I will leave that up to you. If you want to add quilt batting, you certainly can. I'm just going to cut this out of here. Get this out of the way because it won't catch on everything. And then we'll just very quickly cut it around. Just try to get in all of these the best that you can. Sometimes it's easier to do it from the side where the quilt batting is, because you can just put the tip of the scissors in there and just kind of go around. You definitely want to make sure you leave some quilt batting up in this curl. You don't want it to be flat and the rest of it be stuffed. So okay, there we go. Like that. Okay, let's see. We'll probably do all of our small pieces first. We have the batting on there, but like I'll get the little feet covered and do all of that first, just so that we'll have all the little things done, the little candy corn, the nose, the beard, and then we will assemble. Make sure on your feet that you do a left and a right. Okay, just don't do them both the same way. Oops. And since I'm not stuffing this, I'm just going to put a couple of squiggles of glue on the back and put it right in the center. Just like that. You just want it to hold it in place. And now I'm just going to cover the back. Very light glue. You do not need to put a huge heavy bead of glue on this. Just get it all the way around. And in the corners, I like to make this little corner that I pinch right there, if you can see it. And then I just snip that off. Keep going around. Get to this corner and just kind of pinch it together so that the felt is stuck to the base. I have these little wooden balls that are cut in half. I like to use them. You don't have to use these. Honestly, you could just use a pom-pom. You can use whatever you want, but since I have these, I'm going to use them. And it's just going to put a little glue in a circle on the ivory felt, and then I'm just going to drape it over and glue it down so that I can easily make a little nose out of it like that. Okay, so there's our little nose. We're going to do our candy corn. Now, if you are not doing candy corn, if you want to make this at different seasons, just cut a little piece, 2mm foam, just scrap whatever you have, cut it in the shape that you want it, and then cover it with felt. Or if you have a pick or something that you want to use, you can just use something that's on a pick, or just whatever idea you have that you can make this little gnome hold on to. And it doesn't have to be flat. It can be, you know, like a gift or a present. It can be anything you want it to be. And we're just going to glue it down. Now, if you're doing the candy corn and your colors don't line up perfectly, it's fine. You can just kind of trim them a little bit. Sometimes, you know, they don't fit like puzzle pieces together. And sometimes they'll hang off the edges and you just trim them. It's no big deal. I would rather cut it a little big and trim it off than try to line up two exact pieces that just simply won't fit together. And the frustration with that is, you know, much worse than just trimming it off. So, the two pieces. And then the top piece. Some glue on there. Now, it'd be really cute if you had some of the Mod Podge glitter that we've worked with. It'd be really cute to put some glitter over this too. I didn't on mine, but you know, you can never go wrong with glitter. Now you can see on the back, we've got some overhang. It's not all completely even. So I just take my scissors and go all the way around. I am cutting through the foam as well. It's only taking off just the slightest little sliver, but it will look more finished because the two pieces are glued and they're the exact same size. Oops, this top definitely needs to be trimmed here. So see, that's why I like to use this 2mm foam. If everything doesn't line up perfectly, you just kind of cut it, and then when you turn it around, everything is lined up perfectly because you just cut it. Except for this one little spot here, I have a place where I didn't get any glue, and it just keeps popping up. So we're gonna put some glue in here. Just like that. Yeah, it's simple and easy. There's that little guy. All right, let's move on to our beard. Now I've already drawn on the back of this fur. I've already drawn, barely see it, the pattern. It's in a pencil, so it's hard to see. So I use an X-Acto knife. I hold the fur up. Don't put the fur on the table and cut it because you're going to cut through all of the fur underneath. You have to hold it up, and what you're doing, you're just sawing the blade on your line through the fabric, but not cutting any of that pretty. Okay, so that is how I do our little beards. All right, so now we will cover our pieces of foam board. If you have a pipe cleaner, which I forgot to bring, this is where you'd want to put it through if this is going to be an attachment. You may want a pipe cleaner through the top and through the hat and through the bottom, either way, but I at least want to put one in here. Just makes it easier later when you decide. If they do not want it to be an attachment, easily just snip it off, no problem. All right, so now because we have the quilt batting, we can easily cover this on here. You don't need a lot of glue, just enough to hold it back there. If you want to, you can go back and trim it later, but I just like to just make sure it's enough to hold it, but not so much that it seeps out onto your fingertips, just like this. Okay, and again, I pinch up the corners so that the felt is glued down on both sides. It makes it super easy to just snip those corners off like that. Oops, and then it's perfect on the other side. Of course, we have cut fur out here now, so you definitely want to have a lint roller. Either that or make sure you clean your table really well before you get the black felt out, because it looks like we have a cat or something. Pretty bad. All right, that's okay. We can lint roll it when we're done. Okay, so this piece is going to go on here. Now, whenever I have something like this, where there is definitely a difficult area, and this little curl I would call the difficult area. This is where I want to start. I know, because if you start down here and you start pulling fabrics left and right and up and down and all that, by the time you get up here, you may not have given yourself enough to finish this project. So I know I need all of the fabric I can get around this curl, otherwise I'm not going to have enough to pull over and glue. But down here, obviously, we have plenty of fabric down there to move it around. So I'm going to go up into this curl. My left hand is kind of holding this down so it doesn't move around on the table. And then I'm going to use my little snips here, and I'm just going to snip a couple little triangles in this curve. So I think I have 4 pieces in that curve. We can zoom in there. So I've snipped that one and that one. You can kind of see with my fingers. And we want to get this glued in place before we start tugging anywhere else. Just because, if you don't leave yourself enough fabric, you really can't finish it. You kind of have to pull it apart and start over. So now I'm taking all the little snips that I did and I'm pulling them out like that. Putting them in just a little bit of glue here. Not a lot of glue. Try not to get it too thick, because you really, you got to kind of have to get your fingers in this right here. There's really no other way around it. I'm going to put another, anywhere there's a curve, you're probably going to need a little snip. Like that. So just grab a hold of it, pull it over, pull it over. Okay. So now we know Now we can move it around, and we know we're not going to lose any fabric off of our curve, our little curl there. And when you're making an item like this, one of the most important features is the curl. Whenever you're doing witches or anything to that nature, gnomes, people love a good tight curl. So there we go. So now, well, let's see. We have a little bit, see we have a little bit of quilt batting, like that goes beyond the fabric here. I'm going to snip that because I don't want the quilt batting to get between the fabric and the hot glue. Sometimes it can keep the hot glue from sticking well. Sometimes. So just make sure your quilt batting is pushed back, you know, cut back all the way. So now I'm just trying to make this little point here, and I'm pulling the fabric over. I mean, really spend a little bit of extra time getting the little point and everything to look good. You might have to really get your fingers in there and really, you know, give it a little TLC. And I notice it does need a little more glue. We want to push that up. If you have silicone fingers, this is the time to use them. Doesn't really bother me too much though. And so I really put a blob of glue on the end of that curve, and I'm just kind of molding all the fabrics around. I'm still trying to keep this straight down here. You can clamp this down here if you want to, but we'll be gluing it soon enough. And now we have to kind of bunch it up to go around these curves. So I just do a little bit at a time until we get to the other side of these curves here. A little bit right here. Just keep going all the way around. Completely. I kind of bring this up again like that. Okay, so now we just have this end piece down here. The only way to do this is to snip them. This is one of those curves that's just going to be impossible to pull the fabric without a couple of snips in it. And I'll trim some of this off too. So and just grab each little section like this and just pull it up. Just like that. And I will just snip off all these longer pieces. You can be a little bit neater about it than I am, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of how. And then these little corners here are always, I glue them so it's like down almost into a cone. And then what I'll do is I'll take my glue gun, put some right in that little corner, and then I will just use my fingers to fold it up. And the difference is, you can see here is rounded, the way that the pattern looks. And this side over here is still pointed. We don't want that. We definitely want it rounded. Now, if you were doing the tip of a witch hat or something, you could definitely leave it pointed, or an elf hat, that sort of thing. But on this particular one, I kind of want them both to be rounded like the pattern shows. So just like that. We have quite the mess here. Alrighty. So now we're going to assemble, which will not take long. This will be glued right there. Your beard will be glued right in there. Now this is not one where I'm going to glue, well you can, but that's going to be really messy because of all the fur. I still have fur coming out. So I'm going to glue this on first and get this set in there before I put the beard on. And I'm just going to kind of find where I feel like it should go. Put a glob of glue up here at the top. And then make sure when you put this down here that it is covered in white fur still. And make sure your hat is, you know, in a straight line with your body. You don't want the hat tilted. And now that I have it in place, I can go back and add a little glue, a little more glue in there, and then clamp it. So on this side, I'm not going to do a lot because I don't want it eking through onto the front. I'm just going to add just a little bit more glue and then clamp it. And we'll clamp those and let those sit like that for a minute. There we go. Good Lord. My white fur is everywhere. So now this is where I will use a little pair of scissors or something. What I want to do is I want to see on the edge of this fur, you can kind of see the backing. You can see the edge of that backing. You can keep cutting it off and cutting it off, and it's just going to keep, you know, the fur is just going to come out and it's just going to keep showing up. So what I do is I take this little scissors, and I'm just going to kind of tuck that little thin little backing up under this hat. That way, I'm not going to glue it because you're just going to end up with glue all over the fur. I mean, it's just going to be everywhere. That is very crooked. I guess I should have made sure I did it straight first. So I'm tucking it up under there. I'm pushing the backing kind of, you know, the hat isn't 100% glued all the way to the edge. So, and now what I'll do is get my glue gun and just kind of put a few globs. I pulled this side out, so we'll put that side back in there. Just use your scissors or something to kind of push it up under. Once the beard is in place where you want it, it's not going to pull out again. So just use your scissors to kind of get everything in there. Now you can do a line of glue along this top up here if you really, really want to. If you have a really good hand and you're steady and you can just get a line of glue in there without it getting stuck to the fur and glue strings and all that stuff, then you absolutely can. But I have found that just by gluing, I don't glue the whole beard, maybe just half of it. Just by gluing that down, this part up here isn't going to pop out. It's not moving. It's not, as long as you have it pushed up under, it's not going to pop out of there. So even when I take these off, you know, it's not coming out of there. It's just a lot of fur coming off of there. Whew. There we go. Now, if you're doing this at, say, Christmas time, you can, of course, put that band of white fur across, kind of like a Santa sort of hat. I mean, you can put things up here to hide that transition from fur to fabric, but I don't think he really needs too much right now. Let's see, what is next? Next we'll do his little feet. So I like the feet to hang off the edge just a little. I just want to be able to see them, you know, like on the edge right there. I know you guys have a hard time seeing. So see how they just stick off the edge a little bit? Nothing. So I'm not going to glue all the way to the edge. I'm just going to glue. Oh my God, you guys, this white fur is insane. I'm just going to glue it on there. The beard is going to cover the center portion. So I'm just putting glue. The white fur is insane. So I'm just going to glue these to where the feet kind of hang off just a little bit. I don't know if you can, well, if you can see it from the back, you can kind of see them hang over just a little. Just because it's cute. I mean, you don't have to do that. You can make them fit right in the middle so that they don't hang off. I just thought it was cute. Oh my gosh, I should never cut fur again in the middle of a project. I have learned my lesson. Cut fur, clean, and then finish project. Because the fur is everywhere. I will definitely have to get the lint roller up here for sure. All right, the little hands, they're just little pieces of felt. They're not anything, you know, you just want to glue them on the edges. Make sure you give yourself enough room to glue whatever item. Now you might, if you're doing a big item, you may need to make your arms longer. It's really not difficult. So this little hand is going to go there and that little hand is going to go there. Something like that. So I'm just going to, I don't know if you guys can see, I have wads of string or fur in my glue gun. All right, you want to know how to make a crafter crazy? Get fur all over their glue gun nozzle. Open in my hand. Okay, and we'll do the other one. The most important thing I think with the arms is just to make sure they're kind of even and they're sort of facing the same direction, like that. If I mean, it looks like a little penguin, or you know, he's got little arms sticking out. But if they're even, then you just want to put a little bit of glue on the end. Grab it, put them where you want them to hold it. Now, if your arms are too long and you don't want the arm way over there, you can just kind of curl it up a little bit so it doesn't have to be really tight on each side. There we go. Other than needing a really good lint roller, this guy is done. And I love the way that the fur is all the way around. The back obviously is messy. It needs to be cleaned up. You can cover it. But all these little snips that I had earlier, I will go back and cut them off to make everything flat and nice. I don't like it to be lumpy and bumpy. You have his cute little nose. It's hard to see with these lights. The lights are so bright. And then he's holding whatever it is you want him to hold. Christmas time, make it an ornament, make it a gingerbread man, whatever you want to do. And then his beard actually comes down kind of past his feet, which I like. I like having it super long like that. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy this one, and I hope you'll make them for all the seasons and fill up your Etsy shop with them because it's just a really cute, fun, easy, quick item, you know. Shop filler, I think is what they would consider this. Really good. Alrighty. Thank you so much, y'all. Have a great day.